21% say journal publications, and 7% say research quality. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Harat Singh?
Yeah, there's a lot of different thinking about the questions that you have asked, and it really depends on who the audience is and how they see the whole issue of Caribbean publications and so on. We recognize that we have challenges, and at the same time, we recognize that we have a lot going for us in terms of publications. Publications are one of the key things that that is necessary in academia, but there are things that affect output. It can be simply overload of work. The universities are facing many challenges at this time, one of which is financial, and therefore staff members are overburdened. That does not mean that research and good research is not being done. Being disseminated, maybe it's a little bit of a problem, but it's being done and it is there, and we can find them in international journals as well. Caribbean journals have, the few that I know about, are good quality, well-reviewed journals, and I believe that we can have enough faith in the publications that are coming out of these journals. We need to do more, and we need to do more to encourage people to participate in the local journal publications, and reaching out to university personnel is one way to do this. I think that's it for now.
Well, I mean, this kind of leads into some of the questions that we have regarding the topic. Like you mentioned that there are many journals. Have you witnessed a disconnect between industry and academia?
Yes, there is definitely that disconnect, and that disconnect has to do with many things. Very often, academia is blamed for that disconnect. I think what people fail to realize is that the university has its mandate, and the university is delivering what it's mandated to do. But sometimes people expect a lot more from that, which, if we had the resources, the university can deliver. The disconnect, without blaming anyone in particular, the disconnect is there, and I know that engineering has a direct link with industry because they have an institute which deals with this. Many of the other departments here at the UWI don't necessarily have links, but we may have individual links with industry. But one of the problems that I'm finding with that issue of connection with industry, we, as I say, will deliver. We will train the students. The students will be very knowledgeable, and the university cannot give them that industry practice, that industry experience as such. And I think we have to think of industry, and industry, when I say industry, I include companies as well, to think seriously about their corporate social responsibility. You cannot simply say, oh, they are not prepared to come and work here, or they are not prepared to come and work there. It's a fair statement. We need to work together to make this happen for the development of the region in terms of renewable energy. In Trinidad, for instance, we don't have many renewable energy companies, but some of my students are coming out and starting some companies. We have a few that are well established, and I really want to take this opportunity to pay my respects for the company Energy Dynamics Limited. Energy Dynamics Limited has actually employed a range of students from this master's program that we spoke about. He's the one person, one company that really takes time to employ these students as interns. Every response I have had from him, from each student who has gone out there, he talked about the excellent performance of these students. But they need that kind of experience, and they can only get it when they work with industry. He has actually gone on to keep some as permanent staff members, and he said they are really adding value to the work that they are doing. Yeah, so recognizing that there is an industry, I think the main point I want to make here is to urge companies and to urge industry to embrace these well-trained students, embrace them within their organization so they get the experience. They cannot just get it dropping from the sky. They need to have this experience as well as the academic experience which we are providing here at the university.
Well, thank you very much. And I mean, Jason, you work in industry. How do you think we can improve the connection between industry and academia? What does it mean for countries trying to achieve their renewable energy targets? Can you build a bit on what Indra has said?
Hello? Yes. Yeah, I mean, I have, firsthand experience. Basically, I agree with what Indra has just said. We have hired many university students. What we see sometimes is that some of these programs that are, that the students are graduating from, such as renewable energy, etc., may not go deep enough for what a company like myself, SolarBuzz, would need straight out of university. So it takes some training. Sometimes you may not have the time that if you have a spot that opens up, you kind of want someone with a little more experience. But I can tell you that we just did a project with the University of the West Indies in Jamaica. They won an EBSCO grant, and we installed a 40 kilowatt solar system on the science library, and we worked in conjunction with the Department of Physics as well. And it's going to be part of the curriculum so that the students can be more involved with the solar system. We had some students participate in installing the system, and we have just been giving some advice from our end on what we look for as a company for these students, to help them move right more into the renewable energy industry as a solar designer. So I think more projects like these where we can work in conjunction with the university and hands-on training is good, because really, I think that a lot of these programs in renewable energy give the students a lot of theory on saving the planet, etc., whereas someone like myself, we really want our designers to have some electrical engineering background as well. They may not need to major in electrical engineering, but there needs to be some aspect of understanding how power works and battery storage, and how to size systems and use interval data from meters or logging devices that we use to then build a load profile, and from that design a system to work for the client's needs. So I think that aspect being put into these renewable energy programs and curriculums will really go a long way in helping these students make a bigger impact when they graduate and come into a company like my own.
I was on mute as well. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jason. I mean, I appreciate you explaining that kind of connection, that necessary connection, and people having a general understanding of how electricity works and the standards. Dr. Ratzing, you were telling me about the capacity building needs in the Caribbean. Could you expand a bit more on that? I believe you shared a slide with me to explain the context of the Caribbean for those who are online. Dr. Haraxing, I think you're on mute.
No,
Oh, yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, you're hearing me, right?
Yeah.
You're hearing me, Martin?
Yeah, I'm hearing you perfectly now.
Great. Okay, I want to start. I'm not seeing that slide on, but I really want to start by responding to Jason a little bit. Right, I see it now. Jason, I truly appreciate all that you have said, and the needs that you have and the disconnect with what's coming out. I'm not making excuses or anything, but we have different programs in the region at the University of the West Indies. In Barbados, we had a renewable energy, an MSc in renewable energy management, and in Jamaica, they delivered a renewable energy management program. However, there are two programs which we developed, and I've worked very heavily on the MSc in Renewable Energy Technology program. This technology program is being delivered here at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad. And in this particular program, we have dealt with a lot of what you are talking about and your needs. This program is actually a very holistic program. So we teach all the issues relating to solar, wind, bioenergy, geothermal energy, hydro energy, etc. But we make it into a holistic program as well. We have project management, energy economics, and so on. We do things like a full course on energy storage and a full course on electrical integration of renewables. And Jason, I think if you had one of these students, you would think differently, because we have in this program, it's more technology oriented. We have electrical engineers, physicists, people coming from industry, people coming from the utilities, and they have gained not only theoretical experience from this program, we also focus a lot on trying to have like field visits to various places, one of which is TN Tech. So in the electrical integration course, they go to TN Tech to relate all that they have been learning with the actual utility. They do a lot on power systems, etc. And exactly what you are saying that you need would have been focused on this program. So if you need a list of students who you would like to recruit, I can provide that for you.
Yes,
Jason. Yeah,
that would be great.
it's really very different from the management program. The focus is quite different. Unfortunately, in Trinidad, as I said, we don't have that many companies that have the possibility, even if they wish, to employ some of these students. And we are really trying hard to see that the utilities provide some space for interns to work. They definitely provide the opportunities for us to have the field visits. And yes, we really would like better embracing of renewables by the utilities, and by embracing the students as well. We don't look at the utilities as competition, and I think the utilities have really advanced in their thinking that they too want to be part of the movement of renewable energy technology. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would be great to kind of have a bridge between Jamaica and Trinidad in that program, because it's right into what I was speaking to, and we would love to have access to some of those students, and you never know, could come over for a stint of a working internship, etc. So I'll definitely connect with you on that.
Yeah, and I will send to you just an outline of the program so you have an idea of what we do. And once you tell me what you need, I can recommend some students for you.
Great.
Actually, I think right now I'm going to engage the audience really quickly, because it touches what you guys are discussing right there. That interaction is touching on a question that comes up a lot, managing CARIC. How do graduates get involved with industry, and how do you get the work experience that you need to stay working in the Caribbean in your home island or in the region? So the poll question that I have for the audience members who may or may not be from industry is, can your organization utilize Caribbean researchers or research clusters to advance sustainability goals? Just going to give everyone a few more seconds to answer the poll. Great. So, looking at the poll, 81% said yes, so that's a good sign. No one said no, and 19% said they're not sure but open to discussion. So, to follow up to that question, we'd like to know, what is the best way that you see your organization utilizing academia, connecting with academia? Is it through active working groups? Is it through specific research and development? Is it through internships, fellowships, and jobs? Is it through joint publication and content development? Or is it a combination of all of these things? Great, I'm just going to give you 5 seconds more to vote. Great. So, according to the audience, 58% said all of the above, 26% said that students and clusters could help with specific research and development, and then 16% said through active working groups. And so, just to put it to you, Dr. Ratsing, you know, have you witnessed some working groups already and these type of initiatives? Hi, Indra.
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know what was going on there. Right. Yeah, we have tried to connect with some of the companies, especially through this program that I was telling you about. We have also, what I think is extremely important is international collaboration with different kinds of organizations. And we have done that through international collaboration projects like the INIS project and the DIRECT project. So through those things, we have had chance to work together on research and development. We have also had chance to work in different countries that participated in these programs to look at what's happening in industry in their countries and to develop programs that will help to enhance the delivery of the renewable energy technology. Here in Trinidad, we have actually been talking to some industry persons to find out what research they would like. You know, it is necessary to have focused research on behalf of the industry. So not just utility, but companies. And one very valuable part of the program that we have is before you can get this master's in renewable energy technology, you must do a research project. It's a comprehensive research project. It's a 9-credit course, and the students have to do various kinds of research. Now, in the 5 years that the program has already been in existence, and we've had 5 cohorts, we have had a whole range of research projects. And what I have been trying to tell the students continuously is do something that is of value. So they have worked with gas stations, they have worked with industry, they have worked with the university itself. For instance, we have the university field station. They have done plan, design, and build projects. They have done projects where you plan and design and model and theoretically test it, and not necessarily have the facility, generally the funding, to carry it through to the end. But we have done meaningful projects, and we have a whole list of these projects which are waiting, and some of which we are already engaging people with. But you know, we would like to actually deliver the research that has been done, but that's where we find a big gap, because very often we don't have that kind of funding to carry the project through completely to the end. But we would like more and more, if industry can contact us, we also are trying to contact them to make that important connect, so the research can be focused and we can actually deliver, um, the effects of the research design projects in particular. We have done work for companies outside of the university. So some of the students who might be associated with different companies, one way or the other, even for where they are working, they have done some projects based on what they are doing there. And these we would like to actually have come to reality.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Indra. At this point, I wanted to also welcome Kimberly Stevenson. She is our third panelist, and joined us just now, given some technical issues with the internet. But Kimberly is a lecturer in the Department of Life Sciences at the University of West Indies Mona campus, with a focus on the impacts of climate variability and change on terrestrial animal populations. Her background is in environmental physics and zoology, and she is a researcher within the Climate Studies Group based in the Department of Physics. So Kimberly, welcome to the webinar. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you. Sorry I'm late.
That's all right. That's all right. You joined actually at a critical point.
Okay.
We wanted to talk about, you know, the complexity of climate change, and I put this question to, I guess, to everyone, but you and Dr. Haratson, given your focus, your areas of focus, you know, I have found that sometimes we separate things into, you know, climate change and energy, climate change and the environmental sciences, but the problem and challenge is quite complex. And how do we address this complexity with respects to your field and getting information out there? So
Hi. Sorry, my sound was a little bit odd a while ago. Could you repeat that, please?
okay, so you know, given your work dealing with climate modeling, biological ecosystems, this type of thing, how do we show the connection between your research findings around such a complex issue as climate change and finding the solutions in government and society?
Well, I think you are right in that a lot of people view climate as sort of this disconnected issue that we don't really need to focus on at the moment because it's far into the future and planning can come later. I think one of the biggest things is communication. So one of the great things about Jamaica's system is that we have our climate change division, and so we do a lot of the hard climate science. We define we like to say we define the boundaries of the problem, define what the impacts could potentially be, and we communicate that to them, and they sort of translate that into what it means for government and how that needs to be applied. We also, to improve that communication factor, we also tend to go into a lot of communities and we tell people, well, this is what climate change means for you in your context, and this is what you can do. This is what we are expecting to happen, and this is what you can do to, or you can tell us what you think you need to do to adapt to this situation. And I think the same thing applies to conservation programs, to any kind of biological systems. A lot of it is how we translate the science that we know and the changes and the variability that we know are happening to what's happening sort of on the ground, and how do we apply that to actual physical systems.
Great, thank you. And Dr. Ratzing, like, how do we break down the complexity in your view? Is publication accessible enough? Is it being disseminated to those responsible for policy?
Yeah, Martin, yeah, I would, as a teacher, like to start a little bit from scratch. You know, depending on who we talk to, everybody has their own idea of climate change. Some people think we're just having more flooding. We only look at the results. But when you understand that climate change deals with weather patterns that can last for centuries or millions of years, we need to have a deeper understanding of what this climate change issue is. It really has, it's an interactive thing. It deals with the atmosphere, with the hydrosphere, with the cryosphere, with the ice and the permafrost, and biosphere, and also the lithosphere, which deals with the Earth's crust and the mantle. We also know that the climate system gives off energy to outer space, but we receive a lot of energy coming in from the sun. Most of the energy we receive comes from the sun. And we talk about the energy balance. So if the energy that's coming in is more than that's going out, then we say we have a positive energy budget. And therefore, the climate is warming. If the energy going out is more, then we can say the opposite, the Earth is cooling. So what are the problems related to these? As you can see, it's a comprehensive list of issues that we have to deal with. They're all interacting with each other, and they have disastrous effects on the weather, on the climate. The changes are really in terms of internal variability. We have the natural processes of climate change, which is a gradual increase as years go by. But what is actually happening now is an almost exponential increase in climate change. And a lot of this has to do with anthropogenic issues. This is what we talk about when we talk about external forcing of the climate, things that are affecting it which are not necessarily natural. We have all kinds of examples like the El Nino effect, the Pacific decadal oscillation, Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, etc. We have a lot of issues. But the one that we have some control over is that one where human activities impact the climate, and very negatively. We are right here in the Caribbean, and in the last couple of years, we have received changes in the climate that have been disastrous to our islands. We know what happened to Dominica and to many of the other islands. What we can do to combat some of this is to look at our own activities. So we are trying, as Kimberly said, communication is extremely important. It's extremely, so we need to do outreach programs talking about what this climate change is, what the effects of climate change would be, and how we can mitigate these. In terms of research, climatology talks about many different areas of research, and Kimberly pointed out some of it. Another area that can have a good and positive effect on the climate is the implementation of renewable energy technologies. Renewable energy technologies can help to mitigate the effects of climate change and sea level rise and glacial geology, etc. And the Caribbean region is at the moment moving in a positive manner, maybe not fast enough, but through initiatives of the CARICOM, they have been moving to implement renewable energy technologies in a very organized way. We do have a lot of support from international organizations, international funding organizations like the EIDB, the World Bank, the CDB, etc. And various projects are actually on stream. In terms of publications, publications may not be coming out as fast as we would like them to do for many reasons, as I mentioned before. But the bigger problem is dissemination, or translating the publications and the good work that's being done to policymakers. It is very important that we can make that transition, because we all countries are guided by the policies of the land. And the sooner we can get this moving, the better we will all be. We will all be better off here in the Caribbean region. And just to mention one thing that's really moving pretty fast in the region is the development of the geothermal resources in the Lesser Antilles. The OECS countries, because of how they were formed by the subduction of the North Atlantic plate under the Caribbean plate, they all have emerged as volcanic islands, and they all have extremely strong potential for geothermal energy. Just within recent times, we have had a few workshops dealing with geothermal energy in the OECS countries. In December in St. Lucia, and just last week in Guadeloupe, it was a World Bank funded project. And some of the work that we are doing in geothermal energy is highlighted. It was highlighted there. And the thing about it is, we talk about gender, and in this workshop, I was able to highlight that most of the students, not the MSc students I'm talking now, but the MPhil PhD students, are actually girls, and they have been doing very good work in geothermal energy. And if we have the time, maybe you can put the slide up on some of the research that's currently taking place in geothermal space. And this is all in the renewable energy space, because we are talking about ways of mitigating climate change. Yeah, so just in a nutshell here, some of the work we've done: investigation of a subsurface heat transfer effects of a horizontal geothermal heat exchanger. This is dealing with geothermal heat pumps. That was already done. The student has graduated. The next one there is analyzing the geothermal capacity through the development of reservoir profiles to evaluate the implementation of an enhanced or engineered geothermal system for Trinidad. The student is currently trying to complete her MPhil in this area. And this actually looks very positive. Trinidad does not have geothermal systems, for instance, but if this is a possibility, looking at the abandoned oil wells and so on, this will be a plus for Trinidad as well. One that was done already, and the student has graduated. This is Randy Kunkun. He was my student some years ago, and his work was on mathematical modeling and simulation of selective stratigraphy within the province of Saskatchewan in Canada for geothermal energy prospecting. Good piece of work that Randy did there, and this kind of thing can be used in the region. Other work that's currently being done is looking at sampling bias or fracture orientation caused by linear borehole sampling. Drilling of boreholes is a big thing in geothermal energy, and this piece of work can definitely be translated to some of the work we are doing in the Caribbean region. And the last one, modeling of the Montserrat geothermal system. This, I don't have to explain this to anyone, is directly related to the geothermal systems in Montserrat. So we are at the university doing a fair amount of work in different areas in renewable. I just highlighted this one, but we have done a lot of work also in solar, in wind, and the other renewables. Thank you.
Thank you, Indra. So, Jason, I want to get back to you. Being someone in industry, and there are various approaches that you take, and like in my discussions, through CARIC, we speak to people from industry, speak to people from academia, speak to people from government. And I find like the business mentality has been more of a lean startup approach, where you start and you iterate quickly. Is this the approach that you took with your business, and how can we build that culture of iteration into the region while incorporating the connection to academic publication?
Yes, it is definitely the approach we took. It started off slowly, as with most startups, and with when we launched a company in 2010, renewable energy was still expensive. It wasn't on the news every day or in the newspaper, the importance of preventing climate change. So I think it all really starts with education, and I think making the public and people aware, which I think ties right in with what Dr. Harrison was saying, is and making people just aware of the technologies and the importance of the studies. that the students can do while in school and making them public and known to help influence policy. But I really think the awareness, the more people in the society that can be aware of the importance of sustainability and that their actions can go a long way to prevent climate change. And then you have to connect that with, when it comes to business, as in dollars and cents. I mean, that's how we started to really grow, is that, look, Solar Buzz took a different approach than most companies. We really started focusing on the pre-engineering of our systems, and we showed people that, look, our systems will perform as promised and will save you what we promised in our reports. And that's why we're very keen on hiring smart individuals who can come in and do the pre-engineering work, because our reputation is that what we say you will offset on your energy bill or savings, we're always within 3%, 2 to 3% of what we predict, and that just comes with detailed reports and energy audits that we put together for the systems that we install. Another thing that Dr. Harrison was saying was that with the university, the ability to help change policy within the government, and that's something that we've been battling with as a business all the time. And I think I need to do a better job, as well as connecting with the university and helping to get some of the policies changed, especially in Jamaica. Right now, we have our largest lender in Jamaica is the NHT, and the NHT will not lend for solar to people if you already have a mortgage. And to us, that's very ridiculous. You can get a loan for a solar water heater, but they will not lend for solar PV. And in this day and age, when resilient power is necessary, we saw what happened with Hurricane Maria. I think it's something that it's important, and it's something that maybe academia could help with, is just showing the importance of an entity like NHT being able to change policies that we think are pretty ridiculous, that would allow people to have a solar system included in their mortgage, so that they do not have to have a energy bill at the end of the day, and they also have resilient power, so they have more money to pay the mortgage, they have more money at the end of the month for their family, they have backup power in case of a hurricane, and we're in a hurricane zone in Jamaica. So there's just certain policies in place that I think need to change. I think companies can team up with the university and do studies and make them more aware that so things like that NHT policy can be changed. I also have been at the forefront for years. I've worked with the different financial institutions to get lending for renewable energy more streamlined and easier. It's been a very painful process. It's the major sticking point why we don't have more solar systems deployed in Jamaica, is because of our I think kind of archaic mentality towards lending, especially when it comes to renewable energy. The more, if you have better rates and terms and lend people for renewable energy, people are not going to default on their energy loans. I do a lot of loans with the Development Bank of Jamaica, and their default rate on energy loans for solar is less than 1% over the 8 years that they've been doing it. No one defaults on your energy loan if the system performs as promised, and the client is kept engaged, and the system is reducing their energy bills as they wanted them to. So I just think that when it comes to the banks and financial institutions as well, that's another area to where we could work with academia to do some studies and influence these institutions, so that the more lending is available, so that renewable energy can spread throughout the region and Jamaica faster.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I realize the urgency that is necessary for not just renewable energy, but the environmental sciences. And I guess we'll be wrapping up soon, and I wanted Kim to have some time. Kimberly,
Yeah.
Dr. Stevenson.
Yeah.
You, with your job doing bioclimatic modeling, you basically are trying to predict the future, and so you have experience firsthand with seeing what's happening with climate change and some of the models in what I've seen have come true or even are worse. What is your hope for the future for the Caribbean when it comes to climate change and the connection between industry and academia?
Well, speaking from my side, the sort of the climate and biology side, I think we do try to make these projections. So we try to say we're not predicting necessarily, we're giving projections of the range of possible futures. And I think one of the important things to note is that the Caribbean, while we are trying to work with the capacity that we have and the data that we have, we are sort of lacking. And I realize Dr. Haraxin mentioned that earlier as well. But we are sort of lacking, especially in the data context. And so from the conservation side, we not only need more data, more climate data, but we also need more people going out and actually studying the natural systems and assessing their current status. And we do have a lot of people doing that work, and in some cases it's just that a lot of it isn't necessarily being published that quickly, but it is being done by a lot of people. But in the region, as far as climate and biodiversity goes, not a lot of people are really looking at the interlinkages between the two. I don't know of how many industries have been applying that either, but as I say, a lot of other studies also are being translated into different things, and we're getting a lot more interdisciplinary research. So, for example, crop modeling is being done here at Mona and at St. Augustine, and some of that crop modeling at St. Augustine is also being applied to the larger biodiversity outlook. So, as far as the interaction with industry goes, I think we have begun that interaction, and we have started to, I think academia has been driving some amount of innovation in the region, in that we are doing our research, we're doing the paperwork, and we are providing the background for what needs to be done, and sort of highlighting the areas that still need to be explored. And I think a good amount of innovation is coming out of that. And in some cases, it's the academics themselves who are bringing these projects to industry and starting these projects. But as I said, I do think the dialogue has begun, and I think I would like for there to be sort of more of a focus on, especially funding and industry realizing that there is more of a role for them, not only in energy and I don't want to say more obvious things, but the things that are being highlighted a little bit more now. But I think they could also benefit a lot from, as I said, these ecosystem evaluations and these climate studies, and realizing that all of these things, as Dr. Haraxin was mentioning, all of these things are interlinked and they are going to affect everything else. So I would like there to be a little bit more dialogue as we are trying to encourage between industry and scientists. And I think that would help to increase our capacity a lot more. It would encourage a lot more young scientists coming along, because a lot of the younger scientists are a little bit disheartened, I think, because they feel that the only real jobs for them, once they've done this research and they've got into this science, the only job for them is really a government environmental ministry job, which is important. But I think if there were more options being publicized for them, I think they'd be more encouraged to do a lot of the work and to pick up a lot of the slack that hasn't been, that we haven't got to yet, either because we just don't have enough people studying these things or because we just don't have enough capacity. And I think it would also bring in a lot more funding for our projects. And we do have a lot of international collaboration going on in our conservation projects in the region. Like with the International Iguana Foundation, they sort of drive a lot of the conservation work we're doing for our iguanas in the region. And I think a lot more of that could help us to find our footing a little bit better as we figure out exactly what more we need to do, and how we can be a little bit more efficient in doing these things. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I think I would like things to go.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Stevens. And for the audience, I have a final poll here. Do you see Caribbean universities as competitive and relevant academic institutions on the global stage? You know, given what you've heard here, you know, we really welcome your feedback. We are running out of time here, but if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask them directly on the CARIC platform. And also, just to share a bit about the mission of CESaRE, you know, CESaRE is to make sure that there's open access to journals and publications to help bridge that gap between industry and academia. And so CARIC, you know, as community leader of CARIC, I thought it was necessary that we connect with such an entity, given the transition of graduates into the workspace and the general complexity of the issues that we face. But CESaRE is a nonprofit, and you can also make contributions to the development of the CESaRE Journal if you think it is something valuable at CESaRejournal.org/CESaRE-webinars. And all this information we'll share at the end. So just to see the poll question, it would seem that 54% of you said yes, 8% said no, and 38% are indifferent towards it. So with that being said, I'd like to just thank the guests for taking the time to join our webinar today. And I know CESaRE has other webinars planned during this year. And CARIC, as always, we will have our webinars coming up. But thank you, all of you, Jason, Indra, and Kimberly. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Martin.
Yes, thank you, Martin.
And Marcel for inviting us to be part of this panel.
Of course, of course. Have a great day.
Thank
You
you.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.